Abandoning the main character can be both an excellent way to jumpstart a vengeance plot, or a great twist to a series that shatters all the main character held dear. If you're looking for anime recommendations where the main character gets abandoned and comes back overpowered, then you're watching the right video. Welcome back to Animeology, and today we will show you the top 10 anime where the main character is abandoned for being weak, but comes back overpowered. Before we begin, be sure to drop a like and subscribe down below for more anime top 10s. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Number 10. Gungrave. Gungrave follows the story of best friends Brandon Heat and Harry McDowell as they join and rise in the ranks of Big Daddy's Millennium Crime Syndicate. The story begins in the future, revealing Brandon Heat has become a creature now known as Beyond the Grave killing monster with two very large guns and wicked-looking machine guns on his back, and that Harry McDowell is now the boss of Melanin and has become a cruel leader who has earned himself the nickname Bloody Harry. The story straves between the past and the future to reveal why Brandon has become a non-talking monster killer and the series of events that caused Harry to become so evil. Gungrave is a brilliant anime. The construction of the story, the characters and the motifs and themes are all outstanding. When I watched this anime, I was addicted after the third episode because of the story and the characters. Number 9. The Boy and the Beast.
Ow! Ow!
What's gotten into him?
Hey, stupid kid! Stop it!
At its core, The Boy and the Beast is a story of two externally different people that share the same internal strengths and weaknesses. One is a boy and the other is a beast. Kamatetsu is in line for the throne after the current Beast Lord ascends to godhood. Kamatetsu's chances don't look good, however, with his antisocial behaviour and being weaker than his rival, who is loved by all beasts. He sets out into the human world to find an apprentice and prove he's worthy. For no real reason, he chooses runaway Ren, who lost his mother in an accident and whose father has dropped all responsibility, and renames him Kyuta. They return to the Beast World and begin living together as dysfunctional roommates while one tries to teach the other to fight. The Boy and the Beast was a very enjoyable experience. The quarrels between Kyuta and Kamatetsu and their training scenes were hilarious. The fight scenes were really great and the climax was excellent. Number 8. Kaze no Stigma. The story is focused around Yagami Kazuma after he has been banished by the Kanagi family because of his lack of ability to wield the element of fire. 4 years have passed and Kazuma returns to Japan as a powerful wind user. However, just as he arrives, he is blamed for a series of murders of the members of the Kanagi family. Now he finds himself in the middle of a war between the Yagami and the Kanagi families. Kazuma Yagami is a wielder of the wind element, also known as a Fujitsushi. He is capable of controlling the wind element to execute different kinds of techniques and attacks. Even among other Fujitichi, Kazuma is deemed to be the strongest. He can wield other elemental powers except fire. Whenever Kazuma becomes enraged, his eyes turn bright red and he becomes able to produce pure black winds. He displays mind-rending abilities while in this state. Number 7. Chivalry of a Failed. Similar to Earth, the story centres around Iki Kuragain, an F-rank student in a school of magical knights. Like Iki, several humans have supernatural abilities called blazers. They study at 7 Manker Stellar Vermilion as they become roommates. As Ikki wins, the two of them become training partners and get in a romantic relationship to compete in an annual 7-star sword art. While it's a generic fantasy rom-com, it has all the tropes for being an entertaining one. It has versatile characters, including a unique male protagonist and a strong female lead. Most of its other characters are also powerfully memorable, including the transgender representative. Number 6. Tower of God. The plot of the series Tower of God revolves around the timid protagonist named 25th Bam, who enters the gigantic tower to follow his only friend Rachel. When he is trapped under the tower with no recollection of his past whatsoever, Rachel rescues him and forms a strong friendship with him. This aspect of their relationship is narrated through flashbacks from his perspective. Also, along his journey to find Rachel, he encounters tough challenges, learns more about the mysterious nature of the tower, and makes allies and enemies alike. Tower of God is an anime that initially progresses on a steady pace. You won't be left feeling bored as every episode is packed with some action or special event. Tower of God does a great job of building out aspects of the world that are pertinent to its story, but leaves out anything that isn't immediately important. This keeps the plot from getting bogged down in exposition, but also makes it so one must oftentimes accept whatever is happening at face value, and then move on. Number 5. Tokyo Ravens. The premise of the story is that it follows the adventures of a Japanese teenager named Harutora Tsushimikado and his friends as they attend a prestigious academy for aspiring magical practitioners called Onmijins, who practice a form of Japanese magic woven together over the years called imperial-style Onimodo. However, there is a faction that seeks to reawaken the pioneers of this magical practice, one of the greatest Japanese magicians in history and a member of the Tsukumakido clan itself, Yaku Tsukumakido, who it is rumoured to have been reincarnated within Harutora's childhood friend and cousin Natsumi. To protect her, he must hone his skills as both her familiar and her fellow magical practitioner. Overall, I'd say Tokyo Ravens is a good, well-written anime that may be overlooked by many people who would think it's just another haremish shounen. I would recommend giving it a try and let it prove or disprove that preconception itself. Number 4. Yona of the Dawn. Princess Yona of the Kingdom of Koka has lived a relatively sheltered life away from the harsh realities of the state of the kingdom. Her life is thrown into chaos when her father is murdered and her cousin Su-won puts her life in danger. Now forced to flee the country, Yona and her bodyguard Son-hak see for themselves the truth of the country she once saw through rose-coloured glasses. Yona must now find a way to save her country, all while escaping attempts on her life ordered by the new king. Yona of the Dawn features a betrayal which rocks the world of the protagonist. In this special case, spurred on by her feelings of love and fealty to her kingdom, Yona seeks to return the country to its former glory. She also spends most of the series trying to come to grips with Son-won's betrayal, often asking herself, why? The betrayal is the main plot device and the reason why the protagonist escapes for her life of shelter, forced to see reality and grow at the same time. Number 3. Code Geass, Liloch of the Rebellion. In the year AD 2010, the Holy Empire of Britannia wished to flex its military might and establish itself as a global power. Armed with the devastating power of their mechs, the Nightmare Frames, Britannia quickly claimed sovereignty over most of the world. One day, high school student and exile prince of the empire, Le Loch Lamprey Rouge v Britannia, was caught in the middle of a skirmish between armed Britannian forces and Japanese rebels. It's during the skirmish he meets Cece, a woman who gives him the power of kings known as Geass, which grants him the power of absolute obedience. With this new power and a desire to settle the score within the Empire, Le Loch sets out to exact his revenge using the Japanese rebellion as a catalyst. The Empire incurred Le Loch's wrath when his mother was brutally murdered and his little sister, Nanali, left blinded and crippled. Le Loch then harboured an intense hatred for the royal family, as his mother's death was a political motivated decision. He saw the attack on his family as the ultimate betrayal and therefore set out to destroy the Empire using means many would label treason. Number 2. Rising of the Shield Hero. The Rising of the Shield Hero, which began airing during the winter of 2019's anime season, is one of the hottest anime series around. Rising of the Shield Hero follows Naofumi Iwatani, one of 4 heroes summoned to a new world in the hopes of saving it. Unfortunately for Naofumi, he's the Shield Hero, which means that he's looked down on from the start. Worse, the one person who pretends to be willing to help him betrays him and destroys his reputation, forcing him to complete his missions alone, if ever he wants to see his home again. As a result, he becomes a shell of his former self. From a kind, trusting person, he becomes cynical and distrustful of everyone. In addition to his intense fight scenes, this anime is also praised for its character development. Against all odds, Naofumi preserves against hate and discrimination to prove what it means to be a true hero. And number 1, Ari Ferretti, From Commonplace to World's Strongest. Just like Naofumi from the Rising of the Shield Hero, Hijami was not taken seriously as he was called an incompetent fool who could not do anything. Hijami is an anti-hero who strives to become strong after being made fun of for being weak. The one difference between them is Hajimi's sadistic nature, as he uses his powers of mutation and strength to fight his enemies. He can even damage a person's organs without even trying, which is quite a feat. Ari Ferretti's story goes something like this. An entire class of students and their teachers are transported to another world as heroes. Our protagonist, Hijami, is betrayed by one of his classmates and falls into the abyss of a deep labyrinth. He's then forced to eat monster flesh in order to survive, something that makes him very powerful. He then traverses the labyrinth, meets a companion in a 300-year-old vampire named Yu, and finishes the labyrinth. There, he unlocks the ability to transmute essentially anything, allowing him to create all sorts of modern vehicles and weapons. We learn that more powerful magic is locked away in other labyrinths scattered around the world. They go to the surface and clear another labyrinth. More girls join the party, including a bunny girl, She, a dragon that can turn into a human, Tio, and a young mermaid girl.